on a championship team at their peak, are you comfortable saying what option guy on the team Paolo and Franz would be, really separately, honestly? But it could be on the same team, but you know what I mean? Just like grade them
Yeah,
separately, I guess.
it's amazing you asked that question because it's the question I ask myself on a everyday basis, to be completely honest. And this is something that I think every young team is asking themselves. Like, if you're not Denver, if you're not Philadelphia, if you're not Boston, if you're not Miami now, although maybe before the playoffs, we wouldn't have brought them up. There are very few teams where you know the pecking order and the hierarchy of your roster, and B, you know you at least have a guy that you can legitimately classify as a tier one player. And for me, the way I define tier one is top 10. Like, if you're not a top 10 player in the league, you're not tier one, because tier one means you're good enough to be the best player on a championship team. And with the exception of the 2004 Detroit Pistons, we have never seen a team win a championship without having a top 10 player in the league. If Miami wins it, Jimmy Butler has played like a top 10 player throughout these playoffs, but would we classify him as a top 10 player overall? That's debatable. Obviously, Jokic is probably the best player in the league. So they could be an exception if you want to consider Butler outside the top 10, but that's debatable. But every other year, a top, not even just top 10, really, if you think about it, it's like top 5 or top 8 at the worst. So with the Magic, particularly, we can debate all day about Paolo, right? Like, we know he's going to be really, 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 really good. He's already really good. He's almost a certain, I don't know if I want to say a lock, but it's close to a lock in my eyes to being an all-star player, right? I'd be shocked if he didn't make an all-star team. I would expect him to be a perennial all-star. The question from there is, does he reach tier one status? And if you feel confident he will, and he's showing signs that he can do that, then everything has to revolve around him. And you have a sort of a hierarchy kind of establishing. Because once you have that tier one guy established, you have a key foundation piece locked in, and you can worry about the ancillary pieces subsequently.